Okay, it is already fairly clear that this election's all about the economy. They're still in a snit about Mitt for saying that.
We have to make sure that the promises we make in Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare are promises we can keep. And there are various ways of doing that. One is we could raise taxes on people. That's not the way. Corporations are people, my friend. We can raise taxes on. Of course they are. Everything corporations earn ultimately goes to people. So, where do you think it goes? What? Whose pockets? Whose pockets? People's pockets. Okay, human beings, my friend.
Corporations are people. Democrats having a field day with that one. In fact, the Democratic National Committee taking that exchange, making it to an ad to slam the GOP frontrunner today in Iowa. But former eBay CEO Meg Whitman says Mitt Romney should own what he said about corporations because it's true. Meg, how would you explain that?
Well, since when are organizations like corporations, companies, businesses that hire people and grow the economy, since when is that a bad thing? We need more hiring in this country, not less. And think about it, Neil, what are corporations? Corporations are people that incorporate to do business. Another legal entity is a small business, like an limited liability company. And they incorporate, they get together, people start businesses, whether it's the corner store or a hair salon or Microsoft or Facebook or whatever, and they hire people and grow people. Of course, corporations are run and staffed by people, and if they earn money, it goes back to shareholders in the form of dividends and other things. So I think we should be applauding entities and organizations that hire people.
I just found it interesting that the Democratic National Committee would even pick that up and target it as some explosive statement. But it does fit a bigger pattern, does it not? Actually, in the conventional media and throughout many liberal groups and what have you, that corporations are evil and that somehow they're here for nefarious purposes and don't hire people and don't provide jobs and don't provide the juice to this economic engine. But that is going to be, I guess, the blueprint, isn't it?
Well, I just think that is it's just wrong-headed, and it's not the right strategy to go after organizations that hire people. What we want are more companies, more businesses, more entities being able to hire people. If we don't get this economy going, nothing else is possible. We can't take care of the people who need it the most. We can't help our friends across the board. So I agree with Mitt Romney. Job one is getting Americans back to work, and that's going to involve streamlining regulation, streamlining taxes, making America a more business-friendly, more, economically friendly place. And so that's the fundamental choice in this election. And I obviously think the way forward is more hiring, more businesses, more people having jobs so they can support their families, send their kids to college, all the stuff that we all want.
Well, you talk about these corporations, whether dominated by people or robots or whatever, they're hanging on to a lot of cash, Meg, and the fear is that they're just not inclined to spend it, and after the last couple of weeks we've seen, they're really not inclined to spend it. What gets them off the dime, literally?
Well, I think there's tremendous uncertainty. So people are scared. People who run those companies are scared to invest because if they hire someone, maybe they'll have to lay them off if things turn badly. So I think there's two things that are holding people back. One is the economic uncertainty in Europe. Is there going to be a sovereign default, a sovereign country default? I don't think so, but, I don't know. I worry about it, but I think the Europeans are going to sort their own problems out. I applaud what's going on. David Cameron's leading a austerity program in Britain that will pay dividends. There's some bumps in the road, as we all know, but obviously worried about Italy and Spain. But look at the reception he's getting, Meg, to those adjustments, the riots and everything else. Well, do you think that gives some leaders pause? Not that those writers express the majority of Londoners or those from England, but that it gives other leaders pause. What's interesting about the rioters in London, they don't seem to be talking about any particular issue. They're just kind of out, doing things that are certainly not appropriate. You know what? There's going to be a change here. We have to change the way we run our governments around the world. We spend far more money than we take in, so there are going to be some bumps in the road, but we have to have the long view. What's the right thing now that will set us up for another 50, 100, 150 years of growth? And then, of course, the other thing I think that keeps businesses on the sidelines in the United States is what's going to happen to our deficit. Are we going to take the hard decisions to get America back on track? If we can have good leadership that plots a path forward, that is steady leadership, that understands the economy, I think businesses will come rushing back in to hire and grow their businesses.
You know, Meg, you made a contest out of it for the California gubernatorial election in a very Democratic state, which has raised speculation that if Mitt Romney were to be the presidential nominee, he could turn to you as a running mate. That rumor has been out there. What do you think of it?
You know, there's going to be a lot of people that he can pick from. I'm happy to help Mitt in any way that he wants, but I think there are better candidates probably for vice president who have served in elective office, who have, you know, run large states. There's going to be a lot of people to pick from. I'm happy to help him in any way that he'd like, but I think there's probably some people more qualified to be vice president than me.
Treasury Secretary?
You know what? Whatever he needs, I'm happy to help him out on.
All right, Meg.
You know, he's going to need a lot. If he wins, he's going to need a lot of good people because you got to surround yourself with the very best people. That's one thing I know Mitt Romney does. He picks the very best people.
All right. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but you never know. Meg Whitman, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.